Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Modern retailing is now a phrase that's a common staple in the automotive retail industry, and that is no accident. We give that credit to Steve Apicella of Strategic DX, who is leading a panel of superstars here today at the Roundtable. I want to go ahead and introduce them. Everybody will recognize Tully Williams, who is with us today. Katie Mayers is with us. Sean Kingery is coming to us. Looks like he is no longer in Florida. Brooke Furness is with us. Kaylee Filio, great to have you with us. And Ed Roberts is with us as well. Steve, you have put together quite a panel. You've got a great topic, and I got to come back to you because I want to key in on that analogy with Amazon because that really hits home in the way we look at our business as brick and mortar retailers and some of the things that we do and don't do, and that others like Amazon have done a lot better than we have.
Yeah, the comparison sometimes is abrasive to people in the brick and mortar automotive industry, in that people think Amazon's just this thing in the cloud and on your computer. And the truth is, Amazon is chock full of people, and it's chock full of brick and mortar too. Think about it. To deliver its products and services. They just figured out the desired pathway to engage. But most importantly, it's their secret sauce, is they figured out how to continuously engage before and after the sale. And what that does is inspires its users to organically come back again and again and again and again. And if you think about Amazon's value, they're $1 trillion+ valued company. It's not because they can sell something one time. I always ask this to the people on the panel and the people watching: how many people have purchased something from Amazon just once? Nobody, right? How many people have a box on their doorstep once a week or once a day? Right. And the ironic thing about that is we don't even think about it. We don't go looking for a cheaper alternative. It's the experience before and after the sale and the continuous journey that makes them the $1 trillion titan that we all love. I told this on an earlier keynote, is my wife did this to me just before the holidays. And, I'm always asking before I head off for the week or whatever, hey, is there anything I can do to help out? And she says, actually, you can take back an Amazon thing to UPS for me. I'm like, absolutely. There's 4 UPS stores along the way. And she goes to her office and comes back and hands me like 6 loose items. And I'm looking at her like, what are you, nuts? What am I supposed to do with this? And because I just wasn't in tune with the return process. And she's like, just here's a QR code. Take this back to the Amazon store. Now, my wife and I have this brilliant relationship. We've been married for a long time. And the entire drive to UPS on the way to the airport, I think she's punking me. Like I can't wait to see what this is going to be like when he shows up at UPS. And even when I open the door at UPS and I'm carrying this stuff in, I'm kind of sheepishly looking at this lady behind the counter, and she's like, you have an Amazon return? And I'm like, I do. She's like, okay, bring it here. And I drop the stuff off, and she's like, do you have a QR code? I do. Here it is. And she goes, and I'm kind of standing there waiting for, okay, here's a box, and here's tape, and here's how you construct, here's how you do this. And she said, she looks at me after an awkward pause and says, thank you. You're all set. You're good to go. And I left the UPS store and went across the parking lot to get a cup of coffee at McDonald's and purchased it and went to my car. And because my family's Amazon account is connected to my email, before I started my car, I got an email saying that the products had been returned and the money's been returned to my account.
Steve, Tully is chomping at the bit. Tully just can't wait to get going.
Let's go, Tully.
So, Steve, we talked about this on several roundtables. Sean Kingery, Ed Roberts, Brooke has been involved in the panels as well. Tully, give us a little bit of the background. And I know you have recently become a Strategic DX client. Talk to us about that.
So here's the deal. We're in the repeat referral business, right? That's what we're in. We sell 4 products at the group. If your sales and service is not working together, as I do, I share the same office as the variable director. Because we work together. What drives repeat and referral business? selling those great F&I products that we'd sell our family members. But here's the problem. If we do that, we have still failed, because what happens when they come into the service drive? The service writer looks at them like, I'm here to, I'm here for my service. It should be free. You're like, what do you mean you're talking about it's free? What do you have? What did you buy? And they're like, I bought it here. You're like, yeah, so those guys don't come in. They're on the T schedule, 10 to 2, Tuesday through Thursday. They're not here. I don't know what to tell you. But here's the answer, my good friends, is that now we have an app, and they said, here, download it today. Let me show you, or let me scan your VIN. And guess what? Oh, you bought that? Oh, that is fantastic. Oh, you got the maintenance. Oh, great. I see you bought the din and ding. We can get that fixed for you today. Now you're an advocate for the customer. You're letting them use those great products that they bought when they bought the car in the service drive. And we now know everything. We can submit a claim through the phone app. We make it easy to do business. And here's the deal. What do service writers want? Yes answers. When you have an extended warranty, what happens? It's a yes answer. These things make everybody happier, from the customer to the service writer to the ultimately repeat and referral business. Because now when they buy their next car or tell their friends and family, what are they going to do? Make sure you buy the maintenance. Make sure you buy that extended warranty. Make sure you buy the key, because I know you lose keys all the time. This is what the winning ticket is.
Sean, I know you saw this opportunity early on. I remember our conversations. Talk to us a little bit about that opportunity and bringing modern retailing to the modern age.
So it is, and Tully's dead right. We'll start at the back and go forward. How do you expect that client to buy anything at F&I the next time they come in when you didn't know what they had the last time they came in? But as we grow forward and as we move forward at the group that I'm at now in Wisconsin, going that they didn't have a BDC. Now we went out with Traver. We've outsourced BDC. We've outsourced with X-Time. We're bringing Brooke on board. Everybody knows that. Okay, strategic with strategic. It's all a Q2, a Q3 process, and it is all about it. Tully's got it dead right. It's a repeat and referral. If you make it difficult for the client, you get what you deserve. And again, I'm coming into a group that, by the way, is extremely profitable, and I call it the Fred Flintstone era, and I probably shouldn't call it that, even the way they've always done business. But I'm also the guy who walked into a meeting with the board and says, I'm giving you 18% return this year. We're going to do 18% growth year over year. And everybody looked at me like I had a third eyeball. Guys, it's just putting the processes in place. And what this panel is putting the processes in place. Very simply, that's all it is. It's streamlining the process. You're here for the client. It starts with appointments. You need to schedule what's convenient for the client, not what's convenient for your advisors. Okay? Again, Tully's point, on the service drive, you can scan the VIN. All of a sudden, you don't have that blank look where we've all talked about, this is our 5th or 6th or 7th panel together, where you're telling the advisor to already start off on the bad foot and you expect good CSI. You get 3 minutes with that client. That's all you get. And you're already starting the first 30 seconds off.
Mr. Customer, have a seat in our world-class waiting room and have a coffee and donut on us while we figure out what we sold you.
Thank you.
That's not okay.
What we sold you a week ago, Steve, even.
Yeah.
We don't even know.
And here's the other thing, sometimes people, and I know everybody on the fixed op side feels this, is everybody's motivated by sales, sell more stuff, right? And customer experience seems to be, yeah, if we can make it better, great, but we need to sell more stuff. Well, think about this. In the pursuit of improving the customer experience and the service advisor experience with their customer, because they're ill-equipped and it's not their fault. They're just not given the data they need to be able to properly support their customer. But does fixed ops want to sell F&I after the point of sale? Of course they do. But here's the problem. If you don't know what they already bought, how can you sell them something they haven't bought? That's a problem. And this is where you can solve both. And again, for clarity, I like to tell people, I'm not telling anybody to stop the F&I menu presentation process during the sale of the vehicle. Of course not. But should all that relationship and revenue value reside there alone? It doesn't make any sense why we create that self-inflicted limitation. And the other thing, for clarity for anybody watching this, keep your providers. I'm not trying to get in the middle of that relationship, right? But a new bar has to be raised by dealers with their agents and with their third-party administrators about what is acceptable and what's not. If a dealer's support community can't illuminate not only what the customer purchase from them, but be a part of a process so that the service advisor has one process to see whatever the customer bought, even through multiple administrators. It's not okay for the service advisor to go through 3 or 4 or 5 different platforms to figure out what we sold them. That's not okay. And this is where, again, expectations, we have to demand that our industry and the support community, and I'll also say, I know that Tully and Sean and Ed run outstanding organizations, but for our industry to thrive, our industry has to raise the bar. It's not just one dealer. And that's why I applaud shows like this. I'm at conventions throughout the year, and I cross paths with all 3 of these guys. In fact, everybody on this panel, because they're out there not just promoting what they do, but helping to elevate the results and the value of the industry that we all love so much.
Ed, you've got a big operation. You've got a lot of moving parts. You're going to write a lot of repair orders today and this week and this month. And congratulations to you, Ed, on all the success that you and Bozart are having. Talk to us about how that impacts a big organization like you with a lot of advisors and a lot of techs.
Well, man, there's a lot of good stuff coming out of here. And let's talk about what we started this with Amazon and how Amazon has changed how we go to market and so many things it does for us, and the convenience of it, and showing up at the UPS store and it being refunded almost instantly. We're used to things being at our fingertips. We're used to things being right here. And with this allows us to take care of a customer with things at our fingertips rather than going back and forth, going to Target, going to Walmart, because that's what that's doing. It's eliminating all those trips all over the place to figure out what we sold somebody. And then in today's time, yes, we got customers that their trade cycles every 5 years and 3 years and 2 years, and they're all across the board. But there's customers that never bought product because their trade cycles every 6 to 8 months. Mm-hmm. Well, in today's world, there's no 6 to 8 month trade cycle, because you can order a vehicle today. You can buy a vehicle today, order your next one right now, and you're not going to see it for over a year. So it's another opportunity for us to sell product. And then when we sell that product, being able to build the confidence for them to tell their buddies that's in the same trade cycle that this saved me. Talked about the key thing earlier. That's where that starts to compound, and it becomes easier. It becomes, let me offer it and you choose what you want to buy rather than me sell it to you. And it's all about tying it together and building the impact to where we truly can be in the repeat and referral business.
You know, Brooke Tully talks about that repeat and referral business, and that's also now a huge mantra, right? We talk about that all the time. But Brooke, it's hard to imagine that this has gone overlooked for so long in our industry. And now there's been an awakening, it seems, where everyone is like, you know what? This is a really valuable and needed piece. Talk to us about that.
I think needed, shockingly, is an understatement. It is more than needed. It is so crucial. Throw any other synonym in there. And going back to, we started, as Ed said, we started with the Amazon experience. So I don't know when it was. It was some time in history, but it was recently, I will say, that I started getting emails from Amazon saying, hey, how often do you go back and check to see if we gave your money back, and check the history of things? And that just goes to show that, like, Amazon is constantly saying, hey, how can we improve? Steve, last year you were on my show, and you and I've done a lot of things together, and we started talking about how so too often I think Amazon's just online. Well, no, Amazon's in Grubhub. Amazon has brick and mortar stores just like we do. So as we think of this into our industry, is that there is the repeat and referral business, and how it is so important. I know we've done these panels in the past, we've thrown a lot of stats, and so I'm not going to repeat those stats. At the end of the day is that it costs so much more to say, I'm going to go and acquire a new customer. Why are you doing that? It just stay with the customers that you already have and work that pipeline versus go and acquire a new customer over and over and over again. That's just, you are literally lighting money on fire. So the next question is, well, how do I do that? I don't even know how to do that. Okay, then let's have that discussion, because it's people, process, and product. Obviously, we have awesome people in this panel that are already doing that, and they know how to do that. But these people, all of us on here, will help you do that. So then it comes down to, we have a house divided. And that's the big issue here, is that we have these two different, in a house divided cannot stand. So then it's okay. How are we getting these people to talk to each other? Is it a communication with people, process, or product, or is it all encompassing? And that is something I deal with on a constant basis, whether it's with speaking at something like this or with my own clients, to say, what is going on here that we are, you're just not talking, and you're literally, once again, going back to lighting that money on fire. And it's so insanely frustrating, because I'll go to, like, you go to most dealerships websites. What's the first thing you see? What's the majority of the homepage? Selling. I'm going to shove selling and acquisition down your throat. Well, isn't the whole point about repeat and referral business? Isn't that the whole point of it? So why are we shoving selling down the person's throat? Now let's go back to service and parts. How much of it is actually attributed to that, and how easy is it for the consumer to actually do that? It's not. How many dealerships websites have a parts form that is stuck in 1970 versus an actual Amazon experience with the parts form? Very few do. And then from the service portion of it, how easy is it to actually schedule a service appointment that's, once again, not stuck in a archaic process? So all of these things come together, and you have people processing the product, and do all of those talk to each other? Because that is all going to go back to, are we spending more money with the acquisition portion of it, or are we retaining those customers that are going to be loyal to us, that we know that if we increase our acquisition, we're just so much more increasing our profits.
Every dealership has a why buy here proposition. You hear that over and over and over again. How many in our industry have a why return here value proposition that's clear and concise to the consumer? You know, Brooke, you hit on something there, which is, if we're in the repeat and referral business, take a look at our dealers' websites. It doesn't look like that. It looks like we're in a one-time transaction business. We're trying to sell you a car, and that's it. And to Ed's point, I want to talk about this just for a second, is everybody knows business is built on relationships. That's not just cliche, that's true. But what's also true is good, long-standing relationships require good, relevant, healthy communication to last. If I work hard in a personal relationship to earn that relationship and then stop talking to you, well, that relationship's not going to last. And the same is true in the business to the consumer relationship, and why Amazon does such a good job about just staying connected and making sure that they're top of mind. It cannot go from throw the kitchen sink at customer acquisition to awkward silence directly after the sale if we expect anything more in that relationship. We have to continue it on. The other thing, which is to Ed's point, think about buying a car today and ordering it. And I think, guys, I want to underscore this. I think the right solutions are the ones that transcend the moment. Meaning, is this a smart thing to do with or without inventory? Is it a smart thing to do if interest rates are high or they're not, right? These are things that we should execute no matter what's going on. And building relationships beyond the one-time sale requires leadership, and it requires process to be able to do it. But we have to be thinking about, what if a customer buys a vehicle remotely? Think about all that in-person touch, especially F&I, that just gets wasted. If we want a customer to engage in F&I products remotely, where should we put those F&I products? On their smartphone, and make them accessible to them so they can review them and understand them.
Katie, you've got a book coming out in just a couple weeks, Customer Experience. All right.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Talk to us a little bit about that female perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love hearing all y'all talk. I want to pull it back though, just a little, because what I hear, we go back to the Amazon experience, it's brick and mortar, but it's also online, so you went with the QR code. So that's a digital experience. But what gave you the experience, yes, the ease of the clicking of the button and the email and all that fun stuff, but it was the fact that that person at the UPS store that you went to knew exactly what you needed to do and didn't cause you trouble. Just like, yes, you're Amazon, you're here to return. Yes, I am. And you dropped, okay, awesome. Is there anything else I can do for you? And it made it simple. Now, had that person not known that you were here for Amazon and didn't know exactly what they were doing, they could have easily interrupted Amazon's experience. So what I'm hearing from everyone is the fact that, unfortunately or fortunately, people are the delta to this, technology experience. And the people that our customers and you guys are interacting with are the ones that should have listened to you when you said that I just put on new tires, Steve. But it went in one ear, out the other, or just over their head, and they didn't even pay attention. So what I love to focus on, and what I love about the technology piece, is if done right, the technology piece should free up the ability, or the salesperson, the service director, to actually provide that experience. So that technology piece should be able to now give us that breath of fresh air that we can now focus on the person standing in front of us and creating an experience. Now, an experience is something that we actually feel. It leaves a lasting impression, and that's where you go to repeat business and referrals. If you don't feel good about it, you're not coming back and you're not referring. Now, from a female perspective, I mean, she's making 90% of the decisions, whether we like to believe it or not. She is the chief purchasing officer, and she feels far greater than a man. So a woman's feeling in an interaction means way more than it does for you, Ed, or you, Steve, or you, Tolly, or you, Sean, or Ted yourself. It means so much more, and that's because our limbic brain, there's science behind it. Our limbic brain is larger and deeper. It's actually almost double the size of a man's. So when she feels good about something, she is going to not only communicate that to her friends and her family, she's going to, now we've got this megaphone called the World Wide Web. She's going to leave those reviews. She's going to talk about it. And she's that decision maker. If she has a painful process, and I'm not just, the technology is one piece, but when she comes in and interacts, and that sales associate truly doesn't show they care, or that service advisor truly doesn't show they care, she's out of there. She doesn't want to deal with you again. So we have to be able to marry together. And I think that's a really, when I started in the customer experience business, 20 years ago, it was really about the brick and mortar experience. And that was all we really had, was the journey through time when we interacted with each other. Well, now in modern retailing, we have to marry the two. It has to be a complete holistic experience. And so we have to take that technology piece and sell it to our team as a piece that's here not to do the job for you, but to ease the pain for you so that you can now create that relationship, because that relationship is what's going to bring them back. So I absolutely love the conversation we're having. And I love the fact that there is a piece of technology out there that can bridge the gap, make it easier for our sales and service advisors to be able to then focus on having and building that long-lasting relationship, which is what will have that customer come back.
Katie, I love that. I'm going to buy your book too, so I got to figure out when that's available. I love that. I often say, as a technological provider, that technology, when done the right way, doesn't replace the in-person engagement. It enhances it by removing the long-standing pain points. That's it, right? That's what technology is supposed to do, is to amplify that in-person engagement. When you were talking about I think you said something, this is the way the guy's brain works, that women are smarter than men. I think that's
well, we are, but no.
No, but it was interesting. I heard a comedian recently say, when a guy is asked, how are you feeling? We internally go through a short checklist, which is, I'm not hungry. Nothing hurts. And I don't think anybody's waiting on me for anything. That's kind of like, oh, I'm doing okay. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm really blessed that in my life that I have this really strong woman as my wife. And, if anybody asks me who rules the roost or makes decisions in my house, there's no question, or who influences those decisions. So I love what you just said. My niece recently went through a car buying experience where she came into a dealership. She called me up afterwards, really proud that she bought a car. And she went to a dealer, a local dealer, to buy a car, and nobody paid attention to her. Now, she's a beautiful, young, 28-year-old lady, and nobody gave her 2 seconds thought. She ended up buying a car online and explained how easy that was, and that, she wouldn't have even thought of it if she wasn't ignored at her local dealer. And that's a shame. Again, we do have to recognize that the demographic of our buyer today continues to evolve. And it just happened last year in 2022 that more millennials bought vehicles than the baby boomers. And when people are talking about the millennials are coming, it just makes me sick, because the millennials are here. And guess what? Gen Z is not coming. They're already here and old enough to buy a car too. And newsflash, there's a generation already after them. If you guys don't know, or people watching this, that generation, the alphabet just goes around the circle again, is Gen A. They're already born. We have to understand what customers expect and what customers need to have those feelings and to make a qualified decision. And we need to exceed those expectations. There's no doubt about it. Katie, well done. Awesome. And I know there's a couple of comments we're looking at internally here. Kaylee had some things to add.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to go back to the tires when you went there, and the service person was kind of like, I think that happens a lot because the service and parts are so disconnected that they're afraid that they're not going to have the parts. And I think what we were talking about in the chat was communication, bringing the parts and service together so that service isn't afraid of parts, because parts should have the parts, and allowing the service people to feel confident and say, no problem, we can get that for you if you don't have it. I think that's the biggest thing that I see happen a lot, is they're just not confident in their parts department.
Guess what? Customers do want to protect their ownership experience, and they do want to protect their car, and they want to do business with you. We just have to make it accessible and easy for that to happen. And then I love to, Brooke, can you share your statistic? I thought that was...
Oh, yeah. So it's a 2% increase in customer retention can have the same effect as decreasing cost 10%, and a 5% increase in customer retention can increase profits by more than 25%. So as whether the market, as it changes and whatever, there's some things we control, there's some things we can't control. I'm fully aware of that. What we can't control is customer retention. If we do our job correctly, of all the wonderful things that have been said, customer lifetime value. There's been so much buzz over the last however long you want to say about CDPs and CLVs and yada, yada, yada. Insert whatever acronym you want to throw in at this point. But it all comes down to retaining the customer. And when you do that, man, you make a lot more. And I'm going to repeat this one more time. A 2% increase in customer retention can have the same effect as decreasing costs 10%, and a 5% increase in customer retention can increase profits by more than 25%.
Tully, let me come to you to bring it home. You've recently installed Strategic DX. Hard to get it started, and how was that process?
Process was very easy. Steve makes it easy. The issue you have is writers do what? They want to know what the customer bought. We want to tell the customers what they bought. And you know what? The biggest problem we have between sales and service is we don't know what they got. It's not like we don't have a process. Nobody has built it. Steve figured it out. Put it on a cell phone, scan the VIN, ping the provider, and guess what you have? Live access. Put it in your DMS, doesn't work. People cancel, people add, they do all kinds of things. This is a real time. It takes less than 5 seconds to get what we want. He also has other brands. So now if it's not just what we sell, it's what CarMax sells, right? It's what we have out there. So make your advisors great. I love what Katie said. It's all about the people using technology. This is exactly what Steve has done. We are so excited. Our test store was Acura. It is running so successfully. We cannot wait to launch it. The service managers are begging. I am not exaggerating. Begging for this product.
Tully, if our dealer audience wants to reach out to you, I'm sure you can provide them some feedback on it. And
Absolutely.
Tully, if our audience wants to find out more about Steve's product. Tully, what's the best way for people to reach Steve?
Steve is, go to the website, talk to him about it. Steve's going to make it happen, my good friend. You know what? Steve's everywhere. Ask stores that are on it. That's the way to find out if a product's good. You don't ask the person that made it. You ask the stores that are using it, right? That's the trick of this whole thing. So ask any one of the million stores that he's on, not a million, but you know what I'm saying? The whole point of it is make your employees successful. Ed and Sean talk about it all the time. How do we make our people great? This product helps them make them great.
Thank you, Tully. It's very kind of you. And I feel too, our industry's good about refining the processes that it knows, but we're missing some profound opportunities with the vacancies that have always existed. And we've got to bridge this gap between sales and service. Service is so valuable to a dealer and to a customer, and we can't just have this vast void in between the two. It's got to be a part of one consistent ownership life cycle, not sales and service, but the ownership relationship between the customer and their dealership. And it should be so organic that the customer, and because of the experience that the dealer delivers, that the customer doesn't think about going anywhere else. And I want to reiterate what I said in the beginning. The 100% online retailers for now are just selling cars. This is the one unique, powerful attribute that the brick and mortar dealer has. We should leverage that because it is that valuable. Grateful to everybody for your time on here too, and everybody's contribution, and for everybody watching. Thank you very much.
Steve, thank you for bringing this to our industry's attention. I want to thank you. I want to thank the panel, Tully Williams, Katie Mayers, Sean Kingery, Brooke Furness, Kaylee Filio, and Ed Roberts for being here today. Everyone, the Modern Retailing panel here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.